Hi there, this is a new video of me painting this landscape. Welcome back if you are a regular. If you're new here, hi, lovely to meet you. My name is Sophie. I'm an artist based in Melbourne, Australia. I love colours. I love an explosion of colours, and I love scribbling, painting, drawing. My sketchbook is my best friend. That'll do for an intro. And I would love for you to give me some love. Love. Give me a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really truly helps so much. And I love seeing your beautiful faces around. Enjoy the video. I called this piece Small Stream and Tall Gums. It's based on a photo that I took a couple of weeks ago when I was walking the dogs around a local nature reserve. So today I just want to chat about my process when making landscapes. It's such a hard thing to talk about. It's so hard to articulate because a lot of the stuff that's going on in my head and a lot of the decisions I'm making, I don't know how to explain them in words. A lot of it is intuitive. Sometimes it's overthinking. I make a lot of mistakes. I paint over a lot of stuff. So I'm going to do my best to figure out how to talk about it. So first up, the materials I'm using are Holbein acrylic gouache. Such a hard word for me to say. Acrylic gouache, which is good old gouache, but it is acrylic, so it doesn't reactivate when you layer on top of it, which I love because I work heavily in layering, as you can see. Yeah, so I love that the underneath painting doesn't reactivate with each brushstroke that I make, with each new wet brushstroke that I make. I'm painting this on clay board, which is a really beautiful smooth surface, and it's quite absorbent, so the paint dries really quickly, the first layer particularly. I love painting on it. It's super smooth, super swishy. It's really fun to paint on. And then when you build up paint layers, the texture comes through of the paint strokes and you can see everything, which I really, really love. I've never been a fan of painting on canvas. The little dimples of canvas just annoy me. And I like the smoothness of wood panels and these clay boards so much more, just because you can see the texture of the brush strokes. You get that smoothness. I don't know, I just really enjoy painting on it. It's just personal preference, nothing wrong with canvas. It's just not for me. Anyway, you can see that I started off the piece with this random kind of swishy swashy, pinky purpley with some blue bits background, and they are just acrylic gouache as well, which has been, most of them are kind of watered down, so it's not super thick or anything like that. And I like to use pinks and purples for an underpainting for landscapes because they're a complementary colour to green, for one. So when you see the hints of pinks and purples poking through the gaps in the brushstrokes, it just brings this electricity, this extra little zizzy zazzy moment, which I really, really love. And it's really easy to see the green brushstrokes that are going on. And because the acrylic gouache is super duper opaque, you don't see, it doesn't muddy the color. It doesn't muddy the greens and whatever color you're using. And the other reason why I like to do these blobby, swishy swashy backgrounds is because I don't really like starting with white, with stark white canvas, or in this case, clayboard. It's a bit scary. It's a bit clinical. It's too fresh. I want to have a little bit of grunge, a little bit of dirtiness, a little bit of texture, a little bit of weird kind of problems to solve before I actually begin, which might sound weird, but the problems aren't bad problems. They're fun things to play with and overcome, and So this is the second landscape painting in this little series that I've been doing. I'll pop the card for the next one up here in the top right corner for you. Yeah, so I'm going to do 3 eventually. I've still got 1 more to go. Maybe I'll do 4, who knows? Maybe I'll just never stop, I don't know. So each one has the same pinky purpley, sometimes bluish background blobby painting, so that they're all kind of like in the same realm, in the same story, in the same world. During the first one, if you haven't seen the video of me painting the first one, go have a look. But yeah, in the first one, as I was painting, I had these patches of the underpainting pink showing through during the process of the painting, and I was like, ooh, I kind of like that. And there were moments where I had painted over sections of the pink and then I wished I hadn't done that. So I made a quick decision then and there that I would leave some of the underpainting showing through, and it gives sort of like this magical, whimsy, dream-like vibe to the painting, especially with the colors I've used and the sort of landscape itself with all the trees and bushes and that sort of thing. And also the thick brushy brush strokes that I have been using. It just, makes it feel really just dreamy and lush and watery and glazed and, magical. So the back swishy swashy, I don't know what to call it, the swishy swashiness, the blobbiness, has that function as well for me. And that only came about by accident, no big planning. It's just like, it just happened and I liked how it looked in the moment, so I decided to keep it. So one thing when I'm making landscapes is I leave a lot of playful elements. I leave a lot of randomness. I give a lot of space to randomness, so that I can play and see what happens. I'm fairly new at landscape paintings like this still. Last year I did a bunch, and that was really my first foray into landscape painting. For years, I had worked in animation before as a background artist, where I did a lot of landscapes, but they were in a very cartoony kind of style, and a totally different style to anything like this. I'm pretty new, and I used a lot of the illustration techniques that I am comfortable with in my early landscapes. But I'm still experimenting, I'm still playing with a lot of things and figuring out what I like to do. And I'm also still learning different mediums or trying out different mediums and figuring out what I actually like. So it's just a forever game. It's a forever experiment, and this one was no different. I work a lot with layering, as I mentioned before. I like to almost think of it like it's an analog camera, where when you put your eye up to the view hole, everything's out of focus, and then you focus it slowly until it all becomes more and more crisp and more in focus. So I like to look at it like that. I add a very vague sketch and start really loose, really blobby, blocking in certain colors and tones that I see in big chunks, and then slowly layer by layer, piecing all the little bits together and adding more and more detail in layers. And I also really love negative space. I love the way you can layer, and something that you would usually paint in as a background, like the sky, for instance, in this one, or a lot of the leaves, you can paint them in at the very end and sort of cut in around the big vague blobby green leaves and bushes and that sort of thing in the background. I think it's really fun, and I think it looks really cool. So you can see how a lot of the tree branches and tree bases, a lot of the trees were painted in before I started actually going into a lot of the details, so it meant that I could have fun cutting in with the colours of the sky and other bits of detailed green to shape the base colour of the tree trunk and the tree branches. And if you screw up and you accidentally paint over it, or you hate the way it looks, you can just go over with a different branch, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter that some parts are underneath and have been cut around, or if they've been laid on top and they're a top layer thing. It's all great. No rules. Also, if you end up painting in a section that you think looks terrible or you're not cool with, You just paint over it. There's no rules that it has to look exactly like your reference photo or what's in front of you. You're the artist. You can pick and choose what to leave in, what to add in. I mean, there might be another tree over there 200 meters away that you want to include in this landscape, in this composition, and I think that's absolutely fine and exciting and no problem. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that no one's there like looking over your shoulder being like, oh, this branch is in precisely the wrong direction, or I don't like why did you paint that tree. You know, creative freedom is your friend with landscapes. It's your piece. You do what you want to do. I do have a reference photo on my iPad beside my piece, and I am looking at it constantly. Even if I'm not making it exactly the same as the reference piece, I'm using a lot of elements from the reference photo to inform my painting. Just to see the way branches move, just to see the way water looks, you know, just referencing lots of different things like that. You can see that I really love pushing colour and playing with colour. So a lot of the colour isn't realistic. And that's just, again, personal preference. I just have fun. I like looking at the world with these zinging, colourful moments. I like looking at my reference photos, at the colours in my reference photos, and in my head, almost like upping the saturation of the colours, or like searching for new colours within a colour that you wouldn't necessarily find another colour in. Like, for instance, finding pinks and purples within gravel and stone, reaching in and pulling out those purples. A lot of people might look at a stone and be like, that's grey, well that's brown, or that's black, or whatever, but actually it's like a rainbow of colours. And doing landscape painting, or doing any painting ever, when you're referencing something, or when you're painting something that's in front of you, it's an exercise in looking and seeing exactly what's in front of you and beyond that. Yeah, it's a hard one to explain. I don't know. I'm not good at explaining stuff, but I hopefully you can kind of figure out what I'm talking about by also pairing it with the visuals in front of you. It's another hard thing is knowing when to stop, knowing what level of detail you're happy with. If you look at certain little chunks of this painting, it doesn't really make sense, or you can't tell what it is, but when you step back and you look at the whole picture, you're like, oh, that's a tree, or oh, that's a bush, or whatever, you know, or that's pebbles. I kind of like that. I like that it's abstract turned realistic. No, it's not really realistic, but you know what I mean. Abstract turned landscape, a readable landscape. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know how informative it is, but maybe you got something out of it, and that makes me happy. I just want to do a really quick thank you to my patrons, who are just the best, and without you I wouldn't be here painting my little heart away and filming it and having a blether to the world. So thank you guys so much. This piece is a print in my little shop, and it is available now, so go have a look. I've got archival quality Giclée, I never know if that's the right way to pronounce it, Giclée prints of it, and they look so beautiful. Keep your eyes peeled for the next one in the series. I haven't started it yet, but I have been out scouting for locations. I can't wait to give it a go. Have the best day, or sleep, or whatever you're doing next, and I will see you next time. Bye!